Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. So, I'm actually going to start off with Holly and Tate because although I'm not super invested in them, I can give the writers props for actually giving them something to do that is somewhat interesting. Um, and I say somewhat interesting, like very, very low, but Holly, Holly and Tate, they got to kind of keep their whole thing secret. And, Holly's just like, yo, listen, I don't know if this is actually a good idea for us to be together because, we got to keep everything on a low and Sophia is available. And you should be with somebody that you can actually be with. And, Sophia comes over there. I don't want to sit there and say she's like super desperate or anything like that, but you can just tell that this girl, I mean, I know she likes him and everything like that, so it's fine. She comes on a little bit too strong personally, but whatever. So she leaves, and Tate is like, I feel kind of bad because I don't want to sit there and lead her on, but she did, you know, like I did have to sit there and kind of ask her out, and it's not like we can be together. But he does make it clear because she's like, I don't want things to be complicated, and you have to do all this sneaking around and dodging around and everything like that. But he makes it clear that he wants to be with her regardless. And when she leaves, he's like, I have an idea of how, even though you can't go to prom, I'm thinking that he's probably going to do some, I'll bring prom to you in some sort of way, which is just going to ultimately wind up getting him caught. Um, yeah. Now, I've only watched Days for the past maybe 2 or 3 years, give or take, when I started doing this whole review stuff. But apparently Brady was a real terror to Marlena. And they obviously passed things up. And maybe it's still Mother's Day or past Mother's Day. I don't know. Anyway, he gives her some perfume and he just basically just tells her how much he appreciates her. They talk about Rachel a little bit. Tate making sure that he is going to provide for them. Um, Also talks about Alex, and this is where things get a little kind of hairy because I don't really understand what is his issue with Alex. He's like, oh, I don't think that. One of the things he said was, I don't think that he's a good influence. Bro, I'm pretty sure Kristen has this guy beat by a mile. Like he's the last person you should be sitting there thinking he's going to be a bad influence on my daughter. No, Kristen is already a bad influence on your daughter. Okay. Then he's to talk about how much he doesn't like, him spending time with her and stuff like that. And I'm kind of just like, I don't like. Part of me is just like, I don't really get it. You know, it wasn't one time where it's like I don't recall him to say one time that he actually wanted to spend time with Rachel, or Rachel was like, oh well, or Kristen was like, well, Alex is with Rachel right now and stuff like that. So it's like he's getting all jealous and paranoid over stuff that didn't even happen yet. Also talks about Constantine and how much he doesn't trust him, and you can already just tell like Constantine's looking for a payday. Um, Now Alex, Teresa comes in and sees a whole bunch of boxes, a whole bunch of gifts and stuff like that. That Alex, has just been going on a shopping spree, right? And I don't even really understand. Like, is this his way of dealing with losing Justin as a father and um, being somewhat hurt and somewhat slighted that Victor didn't acknowledge him as a son? Because he's talking about all the stuff that he's buying, Ferrari and drones and everything like that. And I think Teresa was partly looking at that like, how much money am I going to get from this deal if you practically blow it within a couple of months? Um, because he's just buying a whole bunch of stuff. Like it's like he's trying to fill a void in himself in some way. Now he does sit there and say he's gonna move out. It's like, Teresa, you can sit there and stay here, whatever. It's pocket change for me. It's no big deal. And that's when Teresa's like, no, I want to be with you. And, I try to play hard to get, which is never a good idea. Just don't do it. Sometimes I like to sit there and do these little PSAs. Now, speaking for the men, we don't have a lot of our patience is not infinite. You can play hard to get to a point where we're just gonna move on. And she realized that, hey, listen, I really want to be with you. But part of me was like, he was like, I was confused. And I'm like, what was you confused about? How many times did she sit there and say that she doesn't like you hanging out with Kristen? So you knew on some sort of level, hey, listen, if this girl don't like me hanging out with somebody else, it's probably because they're into me. And she said that more than once. So, like, I don't understand why you're like, well, where did this come from? It's like, where did that come from? She said it multiple times. I literally remember watching these episodes where she would sit there and say how jealous she was, and even the episode before that. So I'm just like, why? Like, why is he standing there being so clueless? Like, did the writers not communicate with each other when they decided to bang out that script? Because he looks clueless, but I know that she said that multiple times before. Anyway, she decides to, well, she decides to make love to him. I was trying not to be um, raunchy about it, so that's my PG version of it. Now Rafe is excited. Um, that he may have some evidence that could sit there and lead to um, Gabby's relief, and Kristen isn't there letting Stefan know about Shen and Gil, and it's a possibility that they can sit there and try to prove that Gabby didn't do it. I think she says something along the lines of it's the state that has to sit there and prove, without a reasonable doubt that Gabby did it. So it's like, hey, listen, this is something. And then Rafe comes over and, needs some sort of information about the employees there when Gil was there. And Steph was like, hey, listen, whatever you need, like, you're not going to sit there and get any pushback from me. I want Gabby out as bad as you do. And at first, Stefan wants to sit there and tell Gabby, but, Rafe is like, listen, this is a long shot. Don't sit there and tell her this and then get her hopes up. Let's make sure everything goes. We still got to convince the DA, which is EJ, out of all people, to reopen his case. And that's not going to be a small, it's not, what I'm saying? Like, that's gonna, EJ could be a prick. just putting it mildly, he can be a prick. So, anyway, I feel like that's about it. I can't think of anything else. If I forgot anything, write it down in the comment section. Let me know. Hopefully I'll get done with everything and I can do the live stream. So if I missed anything else, we'll sit there and talk about it. Now, if for some odd reason, if I should be able to put it on in time. Anyway, if everything goes through and I forget anything, come to a live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll sit there and talk about all the shows, General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Born and Beautiful, Young and Restless, and I will see you in the next video.